Welcome to Cannabis Health Radio, a podcast where we share stories from people around the world who are using cannabis as medicine. The information is meant to raise awareness about the health benefits of cannabis, but should not be taken as medical advice. Now, here are your hosts, Ian Jessup and Corey Yelland.
Welcome to episode 244 of Cannabis Health Radio. I'm Ian Jessup.
And I'm Corey Yelland.
Today we're going to be talking to two people about what a dramatic turnaround CBD has made in a 10-year-old boy who'd been on pharmaceuticals most of his life and tried jumping out of an apartment window. Besides talking about her son, the boy's mother will tell us what a difference CBD has made in her life. And joining us from Ontario, Canada, to tell us the story is grandmother Pauline and mother Stephanie. They don't want their last names used, and we always respect that. Ladies, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Oh, no problem.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Steph, at what age did you start to notice your boy's erratic behavior?
He was at the tender age of 4, is when we started noticing it was very, like, a lot of aggression started coming out of him, which was very abnormal because he was always a very bright-eyed, happy-go-lucky little boy, and then all of a sudden it was like something clicked in him, and then all of this aggression and attention behaviors came out, and that's when I first took and got him diagnosed.
What was the diagnosis?
The original diagnosis was attention deficit disorder, oppositional defiance disorder, and OCD.
Now, when you say something clicked, when you look back at it, was there a moment? Was it his diet? What was it?
It was a lot of environmental stress, I think, that kind of really did it for him, because it was around that time that myself and the boy's father separated. So there was a very big transition for all of us, where we moved back in with mom and dad, whereas we were living in our own place. And all of a sudden it's like, okay, we have Nanny and Poppy here all the time, but where's Daddy? And they didn't see him for quite a long time before he stepped back in the picture. I believe it was like 8 months to almost a year that they didn't see him. And that was a really big impact on both of them. And that's when we started seeing it.
Yeah, so, at the age of 4, he was thinking that his father abandoned him?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. And I mean, and that still lingers with them. But I think at that age, because they're such a ripe young age, that's when their brain is really starting to develop. That's a really big thing for somebody so young to have kind of looming over the back of their head is, why did my parent want me? Like, why is he not here? And also, he doesn't change.
Yeah.
So as we said before, moving from our own space to now a shared space with 5 people was pretty hectic, but we made it work.
So, Steph, when he gave you this diagnosis, the doctor gave you this diagnosis of your son at 4 with the ODD and the attention deficit, et cetera, what did he say to you about how to manage this?
Here's some Adderall. That's pretty much what she said. We're going to try him on Adderall, see how he does, and try to get him into some preschool classes, and try to do play therapy with them, like little play groups. And the last 2 did not go over very well. And then once he started taking the Adderall, you saw some change, but not a lot.
Was he also diagnosed with Tourette's?
The Tourette's diagnosis didn't come until actually almost 2 years ago.
Oh, okay. So then he had that on top of the other 3.
Yes, and also at 4, he was almost 5. It was right when he was in kindergarten. They made the major diagnosis, which for me is his sensory processing disorder. Because of everything, that is the most prominent one that shows in Ethan. Like he cannot stand big crowds, loud noises, certain materials. You put corduroy near the kid and he will jump out of his skin. Like it's very particular things like that. And that's how he soothes himself. Is very sensory orientated as well. So that was a really big one for them to put in place, because it also helped us learn how to work around his behaviors and give him tools to calm himself down instead of chucking a desk at another kid.
You tell us about some of these behaviors he was exhibiting.
He did some physical damage to me, to his brother, and he was kicked out of preschool and all of the day programs because his aggression was so rough. And then in kindergarten, it was, they called him the tiny tornado, because once he went in, the second Oh Canada played, because that was a major trigger for him because it's so loud. The second Oh Canada started, that was it. He was gone. He would be throwing chairs, throwing desks. He would throw people if they could get close enough to him. He would just destroy the entire classroom. He was biting, he was pinching, he was hitting. It was a very heartbreaking thing to watch, because when he wasn't triggered and in that mode, he is honestly one of the most big-hearted, loving little cuddle bugs ever. Like, his teachers loved him when he wasn't tearing the room apart, but even then they still did, because they understood that, you know what, this little guy is struggling so much. It was a rough couple of years.
Let's bring your mother in, grandmother Pauline. How did you feel about the little guy's behavior?
Well, we were all really myself and my husband were very concerned about the behavior, but I'm so against medication that Stephanie for a long time didn't tell me about it, because she knew that I would, flip my lid, and she kept that hidden from me. And so we would see all these different behaviors in him, but we chalked it up to the disruption in his life with his dad, leaving them and them being so distraught. And so it wasn't until Stephanie was going through some stuff, and we took the kids with us. We had them for just about a year. And it wasn't until he lived with us for that extended period of time that I got to see what she actually lived through, and it changed everything. My whole opinion about the things that she told me, and I still didn't agree with the medication, because I'm very, very anti medication. And so anyway, they changed his meds to, I don't remember which one it was. If Stephanie is able to step in and tell what the name of the particular one. Oh, they put him on two. They put him on 2 pills. That's what it was. And so at that time, I had to drive them from Cambridge to Kitchener to school every day until they finished out the end of that school year. And so when they put him on 2 pills at the same time, that was when I knew something was so seriously wrong with this boy being on this medication, because he went from this happy little boy, well, not happy, but him and his brother, being playful and joking, carrying on. And then all of a sudden, this one morning when he had started, the day after he'd started 2 of the pills, I had them in the car on the way to Kitchener, and he just sat there like a zombie. He couldn't function. He couldn't speak. He couldn't move. And I was just I was blown away. And so I literally had to carry him into the school. And so it was, and then he became very violent. And then they were with us throughout that summer. And then they started school in Cambridge, where I live, in September. And I was constantly getting calls from the school to come because he was trashing the classroom. He was throwing stuff at the teachers. One day I got a call to say that the police were there because he had escaped the school and took off. Nobody could find him. So they had all of the police were out looking for him. The teachers were out looking for him. And it was horrible. And so he would, he'd try and trash my house. And like, I was very firm with him, but he still couldn't control the behavior because of this medication, what it was doing to his little brain. Like he honestly had no control. It was horrifying to watch this little boy's life be destroyed. It was crippling to us.
Tell me
sorry,
about.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt anybody, but I just remembered the medications that he was on at that time. He was on Concerta and Risperidol.
Right.
Yeah, I looked up the side effects of Concerta and Risperidol. Concerta has stomach pain, loss of appetite, headache, dry mouth, nausea, vomiting, sleep problems, and anxiety. And Risperidol, sudden, often jerky involuntary motions of the head, neck, arms, body, or eyes, dizziness, tiredness, drowsiness, fatigue, fever, weight gain, feeling hot and cold. So, I mean, if anyone's taking that, even an adult, you do become, as your mother said, a zombie.
Yeah.
Yes. And the weight gain was phenomenal with him.
It was unbelievable.
He went from around 55, maybe 60 pounds up to
134.
Like 100, 134.
Whoa.
Yeah. It was heartbreaking. If you could only see the pictures of what this little boy looked like before the medication and what he looks like. Well, now, like he's in the process of losing that weight because he's off the medication. But it's mind blowing.
Tell me about the incident where he tried to jump out of the window.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
are you asking me or Stephanie?
Either one.
That happened, just a couple of weeks ago. Like
that was just before he started. Well, it was the day that he started the cannabis.
Yeah, the CBD oil. So it was maybe about four, maybe 5 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. He was doing okay in this summer because he wasn't in school, obviously, like every kid. And then all of a sudden it's with Ethan, it's very spur of the moment. We can't really tell when it's going to happen, but when it happens very quickly and very fiercely. So he got upset about something and he just went on a tirade of trying to get his screen open. He ripped the door off of his bedroom. Well, he went through it. He
put his feet through the door.
Yeah. And he was just screaming and yelling. And this was at 8 o'clock, I'd say 9 o'clock in the morning. And he just went crazy, absolutely crazy. That's the best way to put it. And that's when I called Mom, and Mom was out here almost immediately. She's like, okay, that's it. This is where we're doing something about this.
So how did CBD enter the picture? Who was the one responsible for that?
That was my mom. I mean, it's always been in the talks about it. First, I went on mine that I went on 2 years ago. It was THC and a CBD hybrid. And I was asking all the doctors, is there a possibility that we can maybe bring CBD oil or CBD gummies into the picture with Ethan, just to see how it works, because the pharmaceuticals are not doing anything for him except for taking his personality away. like they're taking his life away. And as most doctors down here would respond was, no, he's too young. So it was mom. Mom's like, that's it. We're
So,
done.
Pauline, where did you get the idea of trying CBD?
Well, actually, my sister Leona, she got me onto this a few years ago because her husband at the time was having some health issues, and she reached out to you, and
Right.
you put her onto the path of the CBD and the THC,
Right.
and then she researched it to death, and I was just completely blown away by it. So from then on, I was doing my own research and like reading all these stories from other parents that had their kids that took them off medications, and how it helped them in so many different aspects of their lives with issues that they had. And I had said to Stephanie, like, we need to do this with Ethan and get him off of that poison. So, we were really scared about doing it because it wasn't legal here, and the doctors were all against it. But, thank God that it is legalized here now. And I didn't even care. Anyway, I was at the point when she called me that morning and said that he was trying to jump out the window. I put me in jail. I don't care, because I'm going to save my grandson's life, and I don't care what the cost is to me. I'm not going to have that happen to my grandson.
So you get the CBD, and you give him the first dose.
Yeah.
What happens next?
So that was on the Friday. By the time we got home, did everything that we had to do to try and find it out in Kitchener, and we got home and we gave him his first dose of it later that evening, and you can almost see the calmness come over him immediately. It was unbelievable. And so I said to Stephanie, well, we're just going to take him cold turkey off of those pills and see how it goes, because I want to know if the CBD oil is actually working, and the pills are not interfering with that. So we gave it to him before he went to bed. And normally when he would wake up in the morning, you can see within the first 15, 20 minutes, if he hasn't had his medication, that he was ready to punch somebody's head or punch a fist through the wall. And so he woke up that next morning, and I've never seen that child so happy and relaxed and calm. And I looked at him, and this twinkle was in his eyes that I hadn't seen since he was a little baby, like a little boy. And the brightness in his face, his face was lit up like a Christmas tree. And I knew right away that it had worked already. And so I gave it a few days, and I said, hey, buddy, so how do you feel since you're taking, this spray? And he said, Nanny, I can't believe it. I never have headaches anymore. He said, my head always felt like it was going to blow off of my shoulders. And he said, and I feel so happy and so calm. And so I just talked to him again last weekend about it, and he told me, and this was just, it just really tore me apart when he said it. He said, Nanny, I didn't think I would ever feel happy again for the rest of my life. He said, those pills were killing me. And I said, you don't have to worry about it again, bud, because you won't be getting those pills anymore. And he said, I'm always so happy, Nanny. He said, I'm never, ever angry. He said, I never want to freak out anymore. And I'm just really, really happy. And
that's a great story. You're actually Corey's tearing up listening to you tell that story.
No, seriously, I am. I'm sitting here crying.
Yeah.
I've cried many tears. Trust me.
Yeah.
To watch your little grandson's life be destroyed by medication is the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my entire life.
Stephanie, have his teachers made any comment about his behavior?
They have. That was actually a week after we had him on it. I kind of inquired. I was like, how's Ethan been? I'm like, has he been okay? And they're like, this is a new child. because he has been in a specialized classroom for the past 3 years. He's only supposed to be in it for 1 year, but because his behaviors are so out there, they kept him in for another 2 years. And we said out of the 3 years we have had him, this is a different child. Like he's joking around. He's coming in on Mondays, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Like he's interacting with other kids, and usually if a kid got near him, he would let them know to get away. And he's sitting out there now in the field with all of his Pokemon cards with like 30 kids surrounding him, and he's loving it. And they said like it's absolutely amazing. Like he does still struggle with his emotion regulation, which he's 10. Every child, most adults struggle with that too.
Yeah.
And they said, really, that's the only thing. But he's not flying off the handle right away. He will let them know, like, hey, I need help with this. Can you please come and help me? Whereas before it was, I'm going to throw this chair at your face and then you'll come over and help me. So it was a very big turnaround.
And of course, he hasn't been on the CBD spray for that long, and once he loses the weight as well, you'll feel better.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Within the first week, 2 weeks, he went down 8. First week he went down 8 pounds.
Wow.
He almost started to cry when he knew that. You should have seen that child's face. There was actually tears in his eyes, and he got so overwhelmed.
Wow.
It's like all the water weight that all these pills like kept in him just kind of just went woof and just flushed right out of his body. And
no, you mentioned a spray. Do you just spray it in his mouth? How many times a day?
Well, we have switched to the eyedropper.
Okay.
He switched to the dropper now because spray would tickle his throat and he didn't like that. He gets one half a dropper in the morning, and then he gets we were doing 2 sprays in the morning, then a spray after school, and then a spray at night. But now all he needs is a dropper in the morning and a dropper kind of mid-evening around 4 or 5 o'clock, and that's it.
You guys must all, the child included, feel this incredible weight lifted off of your shoulders. This has just got to be almost like a rebirth.
I have no idea.
He will actually promote it to everybody he can get his hands on. As if anybody sees the bottle and they're like, "What's that?" and he's like, "Oh, let me tell you, this is my oil." It's like, it tastes like peppermint. And I'm like, it's a little weird at first. He's like, but I don't have to take any more meds. I'm happy. Like he's perfect promoter for
totally
oil. Like,
he's preaching it a big time.
Oh, that's good.
Because I guess his teachers asked him about the medication change, and I guess he went on like a sales pitch to them. They told me that yesterday.
No, you better watch him then. Aurora's going to be trying to sign him up.
I won't let him.
No, go ahead.
Oh no, but that's his teachers just thought it was hilarious. It's like we've never seen him so passionate about something other than Pokemon cards.
Because it's changed his life, right?
Pokemon and CBD. What more do you need?
Now, Steph, you have been on CBD for a while because of some health issues. What were you facing? What did you have to deal with prior to CBD?
For me personally, oh Lord, my big one is my mental health. It's been deteriorating pretty much since 1999 is when I went and I first got diagnosed. If you want me to elaborate
what's your diagnosis?
Yeah, fire away.
Please.
Okay. So I have borderline personality disorder. I have bipolar disorder type 2. I have social anxiety. I've got ADHD, and that's the mental health part. And then on top of that, I have
Body dysmorphia.
Body dysmorphia. Thank you very much.
I didn't know what that was. I had to look it up last night. Body dysmorphic disorder is a mental disorder in which you can't stop thinking about one or more perceived defects or flaws in your appearance. A flaw that to others is either minor or not observable, but you feel so ashamed and anxious that you may avoid many social situations. So that's what you had?
Yes. And that's I think out of all of them, that's the one I still struggle with the most, because I can actually physically see this. But it's getting better. But because of all the medications I've been on, the one medication they put me on actually had caused nerve damage. It's very rare. I'm sorry, the word is, it's leaving me right now. Side effect, where it could cause nerve damage, and I have it. So it's nerve damage in my hands and legs, and it causes severe restless leg syndrome. And I can't grip things properly, or my hand will freeze in like a claw-like motion, and it will stay like that.
So when you got on cannabis, what were the changes that you observed?
I didn't want to kill myself anymore.
That's a nice one.
That's a really nice one. Because as everybody says, like, oh, you always have such like a happy, sarcastic disposition. Like, you don't look like anything's wrong. I'm like, but there was. I thought about ending my life all day, every single day. Does not matter what was going on in my life, good or bad. I just wanted to die. And it's been like that for the past 10, 15 years. Longer than that. I also noticed a huge change in my ability to control my anger, because I am the definition of what an Aries child is. I am severely hot-headed, and I just fly off the handle. Like, I was a hot mess.
Yeah, being an Aries as well, I can identify with you.
Yeah, I'm just going to move my chair away from Ian a little bit here. Hang on a moment.
Well, thanks. I'm glad that somebody else is like her.
I'm literally the definition of an Aries child, like to the T. It's very scary, but since I started the CBD with Ethan, because we started the same day. Like, all of our workers that come in, our family workers, they've noticed, like, when we first met you, you were a shaking ball of nerves and anxiety, and now you're able to handle all of these crazy intense situations that are going on right now with such ease and a calm head. And like, it's phenomenal. It's amazing. And it's like, yes, it is. Because I can actually think, because I've never had the ability to just actually think of one thing at a time. Usually it was like a freaking circus going on in my head, where between the thoughts of, hey, you should kill yourself, there's also, oh my God, what about that thing you said 20 years ago in that like park? Like, everything's cleared. And the fog, it's like the fog is completely gone. Out of my head, and to me it's one of the most beautiful things ever, because I can look at the world with new eyes and appreciate everything so much more.
Are you still on the other medications, pharmaceuticals?
I took myself off of it right away, because I don't know what it is with my body, but if it says that there is a side effect, I'm going to get that side effect times 2. And it's usually the worst side effect possible that I get. I've always been like it.
That's a genetic thing. All my family's the same way. We can't take medication.
Right. Yeah, because the medications don't work. We just get the side effect of it.
Yeah.
So I've been putting my body through absolute torture since the early 2000s. So yeah, I just took myself off. I'm like, okay, no, I need to see if this is going to work on its own, without the other meds kind of interfering and putting my mind off of it, because thinking like, oh, okay, no, this is not helping this and this.
Do you know what's interesting, Steph, is that hearing you talk about your son and yourself, it's like this veil of despondency that was over both of you has lifted because of CBD.
Mm-hmm. Oh, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you're both now regular. How do I describe this, Corey? Just
functioning, living
life instead of worrying about the noise that's going on in your head.
They were just existing.
Yeah.
That's all they were doing.
Yeah.
They just existed.
Yeah.
And not well by the sound of it.
And not well,
no,
like it was.
Not.
Yeah, it was not a good situation to, like, for me as a mother and a grandmother to have to watch your child go through all of this and then watch your grandchild go through it and know that he was being in the presence of his mom that was going through all of this. And it was just like, oh, like, beam me out of here, Scotty.
Yeah, well, I remember when Leona first talked to me about this back then, and did I think cannabis would help? And I was like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But we were scared at the time because of the situation, right?
Yeah,
But now I don't care. I'll go to jail for it if I had.
There's a couple of things I just want to mention here. Steph, I already spoke to your mom about this, but just so you're aware, and listeners also, often when children are on CBD or CBD, well, particularly CBD, let's say for even like seizures, they do very, very well. And then as they hit puberty, with the seizure kids, often they'll start seizing again. And at that point, we add in some more THC, sometimes stronger CBD, and they're okay. So just be on the lookout for that as he enters puberty, you may have to up that dose of CBD.
I'm already on that.
Awesome. And the second thing I just want to mention, just for listeners, is it's great that these two were able to get off of medication cold turkey, but always be very, very careful with that, because some of those drugs, if you quit them cold turkey, there can be some really severe consequences. So just a disclaimer there.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
yeah, I know that because before even going on the CBD oil, and Mom can attest to this, I was a notorious med stopper. They would put me on meds. I'd take it for a month or two, and then I would just throw them out. I would stop myself cold turkey, and then I would end up in the hospital for like an attempted suicide. Mm-hmm. So yeah, do not stop cold turkey like we did. It's not for everybody.
It's not for everybody, but it worked in this situation.
It did.
It exactly did.
Mm-hmm.
So what's it like now when you wake up in the morning? It must be so different than when, I was just flashing on it while you guys were talking there and thinking, that must have been horrible waking up every morning. And what are you looking forward to?
Mm-hmm.
I still hate mornings. That didn't change. I also have very early rising kids. I don't know why they don't do it at my mom and dad's house, but here, yeah, it drives me nuts. At like 6 o'clock on the dot, Ethan's up, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. He's dressed and ready for school, and I'm like,
he's my kind of man.
Me too.
Yeah. And where me and my other son are just kind of dragging our feet out the room, going, back to sleep, Ethan. Like it's but then once we get the ball going, it's I'm out there getting stuff done. Like
it's a big relief to us too, because as you said, when you wake up in the morning, you didn't know what you're going to face. Well, that was my life for so many years, because every time the phone would ring, I would freeze and go, oh, like I'm terrified to answer it, because I don't know what kind of disaster is going on out at their place, because they live like a half an hour away from me. So that's a really, really long half an hour drive when you know that their lives are in the balance, hanging in the balance. And it was just every single day. It was, I lived in terror of what was happening to her and to Ethan out there. So this is like, it's the weight of the world has been lifted off of my shoulders. I never thought I was ever going to know peace in my life. And because when you know that this is going on with your kid and your grandkid, how can you enjoy your life? It's not possible. So I never thought I'd ever have peace in my life, but I've had it since they've both been taking this CBD. It's unbelievable. It's completely turned our family around like you would not even believe.
Well, it's a very, very heartwarming and happy story, and we're pleased for both of you, particularly Steph, who's dealt with her issues and dealt with her son, and good for you, Grandma, for getting in there and fighting.
Had to do it.
Yes.
Okay, thanks very much. I appreciate it.
Oh, well, thank
so
you
much
for having us.
Yeah, thank you, folks, for stepping up and sharing your story. It's going to give a lot of hope to a lot of people.
I sure
at the
hope
beginning
so.
of the show, you were saying that if people had questions for you, that they could contact you. So the best way to do that is if you want to be put in contact with Stephanie or Pauline.
Just send an email to our website, probably.
Right.
Yeah.
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 And you can just
we'll forward
direct
it to you.
us.
Yeah. That'll be great.
Yeah. Because we would be really, really happy to talk to people and, share the story and just, to think that you could give some other family and some other child some hope is that means the entire world to us.
Do either of you want to say anything in closing?
Just thank you, Corey, to all that you do for people. You are such an amazing human being and so selfless. It's just mind-blowing. And thank goodness that my sister reached out to you because of that. This is where we are today. And so I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. And thank you so much for having us on here today.
Yeah, exactly what Mom said. Thank you so much for having such a big open heart and taking everybody in and listening to everybody's stories and spreading the word of hope for everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You're
so
a good
much.
person.
Thank you.
Thanks, ladies.
Okay. Take care. Thank you.
Bye. We welcome listeners' comments and reviews on iTunes and Spotify. And also you can send us a review on Cannabis Health Radio if you want. Here's a review from Mitch in Australia. He said that this podcast is a must-have for people fighting cancer and other serious diseases. Learn and be amazed about the healing properties of cannabis oil. Real people share miraculous stories and tips about healing cancer, MS, epilepsy, and so much more. Corey Yellen has herself used cannabis oil with great success. Another one from Canada says, I would like more of this. They are so helpful and inspiring. Corey, do you have some there?
Very insightful interviews, excellent questions and answers regarding cannabis and healing, very professional and intelligent hosts, and remarkable stories. Thank you for such a necessary service to all those people who are inquisitive about non-Western medicinal approaches. I'm a convert, the best interviewees ever. Wow, I've listened to at least 200. So much information. Amazing. Thank you to Corey and Ian. First class.
Intelligent hosts. It must be another podcast.
I think they're just talking about me.
Thanks, Corey. Thanks to Ron Zar for producing this program. We
Thank
greatly
you, Ron.
appreciate it.
Much appreciated.
And Mark Viel in Belgium,
Yay, Mark! I'm going to see you in a week.
Who puts our podcasts up on YouTube.
Yes.
We thank you very much, and we'll be back with another episode of Cannabis Health Radio next week.
Thanks for listening to Cannabis Health Radio. For more information and to search previous podcasts, visit our website, cannabishealthradio.com. Subscribe so you don't miss new episodes. And follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. This podcast is made possible by donations from our listeners. If you found the information helpful, please consider making a donation in any amount through our website. You can also help us share our message by leaving a review on your podcast listening platform. We are very grateful for your support. Thank you.